You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. LSU nabbed 7 commitments over the span of 8 days, and they've seen their 2023 recruiting class jump from in the 30s all the way up to number 9 right now on the 247 composite. Want some national perspective on this run, so we turn to Steve Wiltfong, National Director of Recruiting for 247 Sports. He's on Twitter at @SWiltfong247. He's with us now. Steve, we always appreciate you, man. How are you?
Gentlemen, doing well, but not doing as well as Brian Kelly and his staff down there in Baton Rouge as they're rocking and rolling.
Kind of crazy, man. What's it been like, or what's your impression or perspective or reaction with what's happened over the last 8 days?
Well, I think that they've gone out and landed some guys that can be some real difference makers for them down the road. I mean, you look at Jalen Brown and the 10.6 speed in the 100-meter dash. You know, he's got some difference-making potential there with his ability to run and make big plays. And, he's a guy that turned 56 receptions into over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns as a junior. He's an explosive playmaker. But where you're really excited about with this LSU class is what they've been able to do in the defensive front. Desean Womack, college-ready body right now out of Power 5 St. Francis Academy. That was a big-time SEC recruiting win to go out there and beat Georgia and Ole Miss, among others, for one of the more coveted players in your conference. Jackson Howard's an edge rusher from Minnesota that had over 50 scholarship offers. Some people like him as a tight end. 6'4", 245 pounds. Those two young men are going to come in college-ready, and then you go out and get a guy like Joshua Mickens, 6'5", 225 pounds from Indianapolis area, who's a three-sport standout and just a guy that rolls out of bed athletic. He might need some time physically in the hopper, but LSU's going to play him at a jack position. And as a junior, he had 22.5 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, 5 forced fumbles. He's a double-double guy in the best high school basketball conference in the country, arguably. And he throws the shot put 53 feet. So, you know, I really like what LSU's been able to do around the line of scrimmage. And then I'll highlight one more guy. How about Whit Weeks, 6'2", 205 pounds. Not many guys impact the high school football game more than him. In the Peach State, 134 tackles, also a threat as a running back, catching the football. Just a hard-nosed, tone-setting type football player. I wouldn't be surprised if we look up in 3 to 4 years and he's one of the SEC's most productive players.
I mean, that's a lot of praise for what this staff has been able to do. You know, and Steve, when Brian Kelly took the job, one of the big questions was whether or not he would be able to recruit in the SEC or to Baton Rouge. How has he been able to, he and his staff been able to answer that question?
Well, I mean, LSU finished with what? The nation's number 12 recruiting class last year, and you combine it with what they did in the portal, and it's number 7 overall. So, you know, they went out and landed some guys that can be instant impact players for them in the portal and hit on some big recruiting wins at the end of the cycle, like Harold Perkins. Kept, you know, I don't know how hard they had to work, but Will Campbell stayed in the fold. He's got a chance to start as a true freshman on the offensive line. Quincy Wiggins is as freakish-looking a defensive lineman as you're going to see coming in. So they had some good wins to end the 2022 cycle. They're in the top 10 here in 2023. They're off and running in 2024. They've built some relationships there, and you know, they're in on some big-time guys moving forward in this 2023 cycle. We'll see how they close. You know, offensive line's an important position for them. 2 of their top targets, Chase DeSantis from New Jersey and DeLance Hurd from in-state. You know, those are guys that they're in prime position to land, and you know, they're swinging at some other elite guys all over the country. Shelton Sampson's as important a recruit as they have on their board. 5-star receiver from Baton Rouge. You know, you're fighting Alabama for him. You're fighting Alabama for speedy running back Caleb Jackson, who's going to commit tomorrow somewhere. But they're in the right battles. They're winning some, you know, and as you know, sometimes a recruiting loss right now or a recruiting win doesn't mean it won't be a win down the road.
Steve Wiltfong is with us on Twitter at @SWiltfong247. I'm glad you mentioned the in-state kids because, Steve, if there's one question that people have had here that we've talked about, it's, all right, Brian Kelly and his staff are casting this big wide net. They've got 14 commits, a top 10 class. But of the 14, only 2 are from Louisiana. Some notable players, if it's Arch Manning or Eli Holstein or Derek Williams, have committed outside of the state of Louisiana. Is there any concern about Brian Kelly and the staff being able to recruit the state? Or is that something that you think just is pretty natural that happens with the new staff and it's just going to take time to develop those relationships?
Well, I think recruiting is a marathon and not a sprint. And, of the guys that they've identified in state that they're pushing for, they were never able to even get in the mix for Arch Manning. He barely gave them a sniff with the new staff. So that one you can't chalk up as a loss because they didn't even get a chance to really play the game, right? Mm-hmm. Shelton Sampson is a major target, a 5-star, the number 2 player in the state. Time will tell if they can keep him home. There's obviously some major suitors. I don't think they're going to give up on Derek Williams, the 3rd 5-star in the state. He's currently committed to Texas. And this isn't me predicting a flip or anything, but I think LSU will continue to burn up the phone line, stay in touch, and we'll see what happens moving forward. Eli Holstein was another one that was going to be a tough one to get, for various reasons. But they got a chance to take a swing. The young man's committed to Alabama. I think they'll continue to call him and Ricky Collins, who's committed to Purdue, quarterback, 4-star recruit. So again, I just remind people that recruiting is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You get so many hot takes. You get so many people ready to point out negatives for every program in the country. So let's just see where it falls in December and February. And right now, you can scrutinize maybe some things with this new staff and in state, but it's the number 7 recruiting class in the country right now, and that's pretty damn good.
You're here. I did want to ask you about the staff that you just mentioned. What can you tell us? Because, look, there's only one holdover from Ed Orgeron's staff, that's Brad Davis. What can you tell us about the staff that Brian Kelly has assembled and what they've proven as their ability as recruiters throughout their careers?
Yeah, so, we'll just kind of start on the offensive side of the ball. Mike Denbrock had a reputation of being one of the best recruiters in the country for the last several decades. He's also a terrific evaluator. I mean, this is a guy that pushed for Will Fuller to be at Notre Dame. He wasn't heavily recruited.
Wow.
I mean, he comes to Notre Dame and turns into a first-round draft pick. He's the guy that maybe a young man's not a take right now for the school, but he's good at keeping 3-4 guys warm just in case you got to pivot to them. And those guys feel like they're top targets the whole way because Coach Mike Denbrock was keeping in touch the whole time. Frank Wilson, his reputation, I'm sure everybody listening knows, his status around the state and how well revered and respected he is. I know Joe Sloan's going hard at quarterback right now. LSU was able to make to be the finalist for several elite guys on short notice in 2023. And you look at 2024, y'all are already in for two of the best in Jaden Davis and Julian Stan. So we'll see where those chips fall. Brad Davis is a man's man, a pro's pro. And he's a guy that's well respected. And then Cortez Hankton helped build Georgia into a powerhouse. But Matt House has that NFL background to him. And the thing that sticks out to me, he's probably the guy I know the least amount about. But when they were recruiting Harold Perkins and he's preparing for NFL playoff games, still getting on Zooms with Perkins and his family to explain his scheme and the fit, I thought that said a lot. Jamar Cain's an electric recruiter, a great builder of relationships with young men. And Jackson Howard was probably going to go to Oklahoma and probably going to go to USC. He's at LSU. Jamar Cain had a lot to do with that, the trust and his ability to coach and build reports and relationships. Kerry Cooks was a good recruiter at Notre Dame, helped build them into a team that competed for a national championship. And Robert Steeples, he's probably he's the young guy. He's still proving himself, but was a hell of a high school coach, got some NFL experience under his belt. Now he's at LSU, his first major job in major college football. And, I think LSU's in on some guys there. So Brian Polian, he loves recruiting. It's every day. I think he wakes up and figures out ways he can recruit kids to LSU. And, he's had some monster recruiting wins in his career as well at Notre Dame. He just loves recruiting. So great staff, terrific off-field staff too. Guys like Sherman Wilson, Will Redmond, and Mike Ferrara, and those guys, they all have great reputations. The staff's built to recruit. We'll see what happens when it comes together in the tough SEC.
Steve, one more thing for you. Your time very much appreciated. How much would a recruit's decision or process depend on waiting to see what the product looks like on the field in the fall?
Well, you guys know LSU's roster better than mine. I think that they got some potential difference makers at quarterback. I think that the skill positions got some guys, particularly the running back room. But the offensive line is young and green, so I don't know how fair it is to, come in here and expect LSU to go 11-2 and then judge them if they don't, right? They hired a new coaching staff for a reason. I think LSU, if you're them, you just want to show some excitement. You want to show that this team has got a bright future, and I think there's some pieces in place, but obviously there's some deficient areas on the roster too, or you wouldn't have a new coaching staff in here. So we'll see what happens.
No doubt. I was speaking more just generally, from a recruit's perspective, because recruits look at the whole process through a different lens than most fans do. You and I have talked about that a bunch over the years. But would the recruits want to see not necessarily the wins and loss record, but how it looks on the field with a new staff? Is that something that weighs into what they?
No, exactly. Yeah, they want to see promise. They want to see an exciting style of football. Maybe it's not consistent, but who knows what it'll look like? I think Brian Kelly's a good coach, but they just want to see that the program is moving in the right direction and it's exciting style of football, and the playmakers are getting an opportunity to showcase their talents. The defensive players are making plays behind the line of scrimmage, getting turnovers and playing fast. And, the team's in games. They're not getting their ass kicked every week,
Steve Wiltfong, National Director of Recruiting for 247 Sports. I'll follow him on Twitter at @SWiltfong247. A great perspective on what LSU has been able to do here over the last week plus, which has just been incredible to watch, and maybe more fireworks here in the next 24 hours. Steve, we appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Guys, appreciate it, man. Always love coming on and talking about LSU. Take care.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.